we have our boy Wayne Jimmison. Hopefully I said that right. And now to any KG kits, you can see right there at the top corner, it says 1750 list. So some people might say, oh, 2K, I'm not interested. How about you stay interested? Give me a moment of your time and take it as an opportunity to say, hey, the core is this 1750. What 250 can I add, or what X amount can I add or subtract? That's why I say it's good for us to explore these players in these lists, because if anything, it just gives us a rework of maybe what we're stuck in our thinking, maybe a new way to attack our problems. I'll leave different thoughts. So not for you to comment, just for you to learn. So we have Wayne Jimmison with the 1750 Bully Boyz list. So he called this Goff's Bully. My boy's kicking it back to old school with this and his mentality. We have Ghazghkull Thraka again making his appearance. Funny, before I started this stream, someone in the Discord was like, where's Ghaz good? Answer is everywhere. You can always give him a chance. But he goes, good in Bully Boyz still. We have Ghazghkull Thraka, followed by War Boss with Ed Stompa. I think you just take that when you have the points. I've said before where I think Ed Stompa could go. We have 1 unit of battle line, followed by 1 truck, a battle wagon with the fixins. He took the zap gun and he took the Ard case and Def Roller. Then we have a unit of Def Copters. 2 of them had rockets. 1 had the custom Mega Blaster, followed by another Gorkanaut, guys. Another one. 11-man unit of Gretchen, followed by 3 killer cans. What's up, boys? 1 big brick of Mega Nobz to accompany Ghaz, so getting that value out of Ghaz right there. A 10-man unit of Nobz with Power Claws, a 5-man unit of Storm Boys, and a 3-man unit of War Bikers. So real quick, interestingly enough, my gits, I love to see the Gorkanaut again making an appearance. Gorkanaut's just at the right points where I think he's totally fine to be played. We've seen him in a couple detachments. He really does help and reinforce the killing potential of this list and making you a little bit more tough in a way that's not common. The War Bikers, you may asking, why not more Storm Boys? Sometimes you simply have the points, but also the Bikers give that little bit more of durability, which with doing secondaries in Nexus, a little bit more survivability so that 1 Nob stays alive with 1 move makes a difference sometimes between doing a secondary or not. So I'm not against it, and I'm not saying it's the new way to play. I'm saying if you have Bikers, don't be so strict that I have to have my Storm Boys. You can put 1 unit of Bikers in there if you don't have enough Storm Boys. It works totally fine. Interesting also is the killer cans. I still think they need to come down in points, even if people do well with them. I'm going to stay stuck on that. But it's really nice to see that they're being used in this way as a skirmishing, right? They're not 6 big brick like we've seen before. Nice little 3-man. Of course, he kept the boys and a nice big battle wagon to transport the Nobz so they can still bully, put direct pressure up the mid-table and get stuck in, not die too quickly. Today's sponsor, Baron of Dice. So Baron of Dice has great dice. They have actually enabled us to give these dice out for our paint competitions. So I greatly advise that you go out there. We have a link in the description for 5% discount. That's of course because nobody likes taxes. Shout out to Baron of Dice because they are actually customizing orc dice just for us that you guys will be able to get a hold of, and they look exceptional. So shout out to Baron of Dice. Really appreciate you guys, and I really do suggest you get them. I love the actual texture these dice have. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That being said, let's look at his matchups and his win path, because even with 1750, it was a 5 game event, and this was in England for the Throne Skull GT. Now let's take a look at his win path to my get. And of course, if you say anything you got to say in chat, I'll respond and I'll interact with what you got to say. So his mirror matchup was game 1, where he went into a War Horde who was rocking Ghazghkull Thraka 2. Love that, right? So we have Beast Boss on Squiggle Store with Ed Whopper's Kill Chopper. Pretty much the only person that gains any value from this enhancement anymore. No. Beast Boss still pretty decent, but he's the one who gains the most value from this enhancement now. Then you have Boss Snake Rat, still making his appearance. Ghazghkull Thraka, followed by 1 simple War Boss with Super Cyborg Body. Sounds like my boy's Solo. 2 units of boys, followed by 2 trucks, a single Death Tread with Claws, Scorcher, 1 Gretchen, 1 Commando. Ghaz is accompanied with 6 Mega Nobz with a different profiles, some Power Claws, some from Kill Sauce. He might have just been doing WYSIWYG, right? A 5-man unit of Nobz with Power Claws, a 3-man unit of Squiggle Boys just to accompany the Devastating Wounds guy, and then 1 unit of Storm Boys. What I would say to this player, because he's one of us, as a fellow orc player, is you did the right thing by running War Horde and running a list that has a bit of everything. You can see you added a Death Tread, even though you gave him a Scorcher, and, people aren't really running Death Treads necessarily in War Horde as much anymore, even though you can. And he seems like he just took together things he liked, units, data sheets he liked, and tried to make it work, not necessarily following, like we like to talk about with our archetypes and our list designs and everything. And I think he did a good job with what he had, if this is what he had. And I would not say any of these units are necessarily weak or out of place, besides maybe the Death Tread, like I always say, he's a bit too expensive. That being said, in the orc on orc matchup, it goes crazy when they have only one WAAAGH and you have two. Now, what I always bring up to people that are talking about the orc on orc mirror matchup, which I think is important, that just to me, what I think is important, hear me out. You guys have to agree on when the WAAAGH is being called and who determines it when and who what first, right? Now, some people would say, as the person going first, you get to dictate when the WAAAGH is being called. Actually, when you look up according to the rules, how GW actually advised for these kind of rules isn't very clear. What they clearly say is roll off for it. They don't say just because you're going first, you get to force the other guy to declare his WAAAGH or not. That's not how it works. I've seen people and I've heard people say it this way. Good players, people that I respect, that say play it this way. When I re-referenced the rule a couple times and looked it up, it very much does indicate that if you're an orc player and you're with someone and they have another rule, you roll off to dictate whose it is, who gets to declare their WAAAGH first. If someone disagrees, say it in chat now, or say it after and in the comments after, and you get stuck in on it in the Discord. But that's how I advise it, and that's why I say it. Now, the reason I say it is because of this. I say that to say this: when you're going into War Horde or any other orc detachment and you're Bully Boyz, if you do get to dictate when they declare the WAAAGH, if they have to say it first or not, it's very impactful, because if they dictate it first, you can either choose to also do yours defensively if you don't have enough stuff to screen, or B, you can say, oh, you're declaring your WAAAGH. I'm going to screen you now because I'm an orc player. I know how your WAAAGH works. I'm going to wait. You're going to hit my screens, and then I'm going to WAAAGH twice and run you over. That's why it's very significant when you do this kind of matchup to kind of go through, hey, we should probably roll off for how we're determining who declares the WAAAGH first, so there's not no feel bad moments of how this can go, right? Yeah, I was like, did I just click the wrong person? But no, that was correct. All right, and that's just what I say. Like I said, disagree, say it in the comments or say it now in chat. And we'll elaborate on it. So let's go into his second matchup, which was Chaos Knights. Again, boy, Knights, night check. Like I say, guys, if you're gonna go to an event, just know you're gonna see some Knights. Very easy to use them. So we have a Knight Desecrator, followed by a War Dog Night Stalker, 3 Brigands, a Huntsman, 3 Carnivores. Even for 1750, that's a lot of meat. A lot of the time, when you're playing into this matchup, calling the WAAAGH, even in a defensive manner, is very important in getting your trades. When you're going into these things, your skill as an individual orc player is tested and limited. Not limited, but strained by this kind of matchup, because they have all the tools to beat you. They have the OC, they have the toughness, they have the invulns. I guess not in shooting only, but they have the tools to deal with you. Multi-damage, all these kind of things. That's where something like Ghaz really helps, because they don't really have a good way of getting around that 2-up invuln with like a precision, unless they're using their big boy. And they couldn't tank shock you, but your Mega Nobz being encased and having 2 turns of their field nut pains means they can prolong that, and you're just killing and chopping through whatever's getting in to try to delay you. So I love to see that he ran over Knights with that. Feels good to run over Knights. It really does. With an 87-point win. For his third matchup, he goes into Chaos Knights again? Oh, no, yes, Chaos Knights again. Oof, my boy's dealing with all Knights. He has a Knights Crastus Lancer, a Knight Rampager, 2 War Dog Stalkers. That's probably the most character Knights I've ever seen. Followed by 2 units of Brigands, and then allied units with a Skull Taker and a Bloodletter. Very unusual list. I'm not going to act like I comprehend that too well. I'm just appreciating that my boy took the win there with a 79-point win. It's the same thing we just talked about Knights. I don't think I need to elaborate too deeply on that, especially when it's different. Then we have Hypercrypt Necrons as his 4th game, something that we're all still familiar with. He says, how to train your pet Void Dragon. That's what he called the list. So he has Catan Shard of the Void Dragon, an Overlord, a Scorpek Lord, a unit of Immortals, a 10-man, 1 unit of Canoptic Doomstalker. Interesting, it's only 1. A Reanimator, a unit of Heavy Destroyers, a unit of Lich Guard, a Monolith, and the big brick of Scorpek Destroyers. One thing I would say that's interestingly missing from this Hypercrypt list is the very small, cheap, individual unit of destroyers to score them their secondaries. All of these things have value that you can run over. And he's very much trying to say, I can stand here with the Scorpek and fight you and charge you, or with the Monolith, or even with these Lich Guard, right? You see they have shields. They're trying to be durable. Having something like a Gorkanaut and Ghaz, 10-man unit of boys with power claws with 2 units of lethal WAAAGH, decimates Necrons. They hate volume. They hate lethals. They hate pretty much the profiles Orcs bring. You know how we hate some units with their profiles? Necrons hate us because what they hate is to be one-shot through pure volume and melee, which is exactly what we're good at doing into them, right? And taking the middle of the table and everything like that. So I'm really happy to see that. A lot of the time, guys, playing Hypercrypt, knowing that they're going to deep strike, screening them properly, forcing them to now put the Monolith in the mid-table and getting ran down by Ghaz is exactly how you want that game to go. And then last but in this case, the least amount of scoring, our boy went into Black Templars, where he finally took his loss. And of course, Black Templars are all over the meta, you know, all over the meta, just raining havoc. So we have the Righteous Crusaders. We have a Castellan, followed by Captain Grimaldus, High Marshal Helbrick, which actually I felt like showing you just because it's been a while since we showed Mr. Helbrick and his potential. But like I always tell newer Orc players, you should pay attention. You always hear about how, you know, Black Templars are so good and hit so hard. Having critical 5+ is a part of those reasons for that, my boys. And that's exactly what High Marshal Helbrick brings to this unit. He accentuates their melee potential. And at the start of the fight phase, he delivers mortal wounds. He has a crazy profile of damage 3 and a bunch of 12 damage 1 attacks at 6-3, which is freaking awesome as an individual hit for him, but not great for us. And a weird little infantry weapon of devastating wounds on the 4+, which is kind of cool actually, for that can mess you up. Very respectable data sheet that you should be aware of. But really, all of these units bring that kind of killing potential. Yeah, you just have to be aware of that. We have Assault Intercessor Squad, Primaris Crusader Squad. Ooh, big old thick boy unit, boy, right? We've seen that. What was it at the World Teams tournament where they brought like 100 of Black Templar Crusaders? It's interesting that the mobs are starting to make their comeback. Hey, GW, you know, it might seems like you can bring the boys in too back. Just kidding. So we have Assault Intercessor with Jump Pack, followed by a Brick unit of Eradicators, and Inceptor unit with Plasma, only 3 of them, a Land Raider Redeemer, followed by a fat unit of Sword Brethren. It's interesting because they actually brought a Thunder Hammer. A lot of the time you just bring the Lightning Claws, you give yourself +1 damage, and you reroll it with link rolls. Might be they just want even more damage with all the damage reduction in the meta and such, that they decided that the Thunder Hammers are worth it, which is why we bring Ghaz. Or in this case, as we've been showing this weekend, where the Orcs have shown the most individual success as for placings, we're seeing Ghaz and the Gorkanaut. And part of me reason for believing that is they bring the AP and the high damage that we kind of need, and some kill toughness, right? And then 1 unit of scouts. In this game, it really much always comes down to what the Orcs is. 1, where you're feeling a pain to go when this kind of army can actually get the initiative, put so much damage into you. 2, when did you call a wand? Did you scream? But 3, the fact that Ghaz is like 500 points or whatever because you have the Ghaz plus his 6 Mega Nobz means that having a unit like the the Sword Brethren that can annihilate Ghaz, you know, even somewhat chew through the feel no pain in that case, followed by having Grimaldus being able to choose to try to precision Makari. I'm sorry, not Grimaldus, High Marshal Helbrick, even with his little pistol to precision Makari, stuff like that can lead to you losing these kind of games. And I don't know how he lost it, as Orcs can beat Black Templars, and we actually have the dual tools for it. But just know, even simple things like not knowing High Marshal Helbrick can anti-infantry 4+ precision out right here, anti-infantry 4+. Oh no, he can't precision. Oh, sorry, he can precision melee. Sorry, but not shooting. Okay, so we got to keep that in timeline. But it's important that you understand that you can do devastating. Sorry, I misread that. Oops. Sorry, I almost misspoke. Ignore what I just said 4 seconds ago. But these kind of knowing that they do have infantry 4+ and anti, and having characters that can put a boatload of punches into you. You know, if you do precision Makari, having this kind of profile of 12 attacks, hitting on 2s, wounding on 2. Well, in this case, they're still strength 6, so it's on 4s and such like that. But you get critical 5+, and then they can be sustained. Means you can just put a volume of punches into Makari, and he only needs to fail 1. And you can do it with simply 1 character. 1 character that can get up to 12 attacks, and then precision out Makari will delete the game. Will delete that thing. You lose your banner, you lose your info on Ghaz. Ghaz now gets picked up by the rest of the Sword Brother unit. There's so many ways that this kind of goes. So that being said, still want to say shout out, and sorry when I said he can get precision, but dude, I was overthinking something else. But shout out to him. Did lose that game. You know, ended up losing that one. The player he lost to in the beginning, 2nd place. So shout out to our boy Wayne Jimmison for his 1750 Bully Boyz list, which had Ghazghkull, a war boss, 1 unit of boys, 1 truck, 1 thick battle wagon, that Ard case, knife, random 3 Death Copters, a Gorkanaut, only 1 unit of Gretchen, Killicans, big brick of Mega Nobz, followed a big brick of Nobz with Power Claws, 5-man unit Storm Boys, and a War Biker unit. Love that this has good AP. Love that this has volume of damage and multi-damage, as though it looks quite random and hodgepodge in some cases. I do like some of the tools and assets he had in this. And I think it's good food for thought, especially if you're on the way up to try to develop your list. Maybe you only have 17.5 points. Maybe you have some weird collection of, I still have my Death Copters and I kind of want to use them because I don't have enough Storm Boys to deep strike. All very valid. And that's why I wanted to show something like this. Be creative, be unique, and you can still do well. Be yourself, guys, because that's what it takes to be a proper war boss. Among all these things that I show you and among everything we talk about, at the end of the day, Orcs are a very much learning curve army that reflects you and your individual skill a lot of the times because they have the melee pressure potential that Nexus really requires and benefits from. They have the volume, which volume is a quality in itself, and they have great OC and other ways to play the mission. Orcs always have a potential to win. It's just how much can we reach their, their ceiling as the pilot is sometimes what gets you your results. That's why it's good you play the way you want to play on the units you want to use, because it gets the most out of you. So shout out to Wayne Jimmison. Whoa! If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!